Good morning, everyone. It is November 1st, which means it is a new month. And not only is it a new month, but I am now officially starting month 4 of my journey to restoring my health from the inside out inside of my series called A Work on Progress on the Bikini Body Mommy platform. And so now that I have officially completed the first 3 months, which were entirely dedicated to hormone health, I wanted to come back on social media and kind of give a recap in a way that I haven't been able to do in detail on social media. I definitely do it in detail within the series each and every week, but in detail here on social media for anybody to be able to reference to see if this series is right for you and hopefully to answer some questions. But before I jump into the details, I want to share something with you that I got feedback over the weekend. And I've actually seen this type of response a couple of times over the course of the last 3 months, but I want to share it with you. And then I want to share with you my response, and then I want to elaborate further. So here's the email that I received. So why am I sharing this particular email with you? Well, it's not because it's triggering for me. It's because I see it as an opportunity for anyone else who might be feeling similar things or have a similar opinion of my journey over the last 3 months. It's an opportunity for me to elaborate and not necessarily change your opinion, but just expand on what this process has been about for me personally and my journey to help you maybe understand. And for anybody else who had questions, hopefully it will give you the answers that maybe you've been kind of wondering behind the scenes and have been maybe too afraid to ask. So the first thing is I believe that clarity is kindness. And we could all use clarity around situations. It is so natural as a human being to read something on social media and jump to conclusions or apply the words or what's being said to you and your situation, even though it's taken out of context. So the first thing that I want to say is that the last 3 months of this process, I have been sharing my journey, my truth, my process, every single week inside of this series called A Work in Progress. As I said, the first 3 months is entirely dedicated to restoring your hormone health. And the way that that process works is completely individual to you and your body and your lifestyle. I think one of the worst things that we fall into the trap of doing as women is trying to apply something that's working for another person to us and our situation in a way that's like very black and white, and it doesn't work for you in the long term. That is the greatest aspect about my Work in Progress series, is that all of the information is customizable to you and your body and your lifestyle and what is going on with you, which could be and probably is very different from what was happening with me. So month 1 is hinged entirely on trying to take inventory and figure out what is going on inside of your body. What does your hormone health look like? What is your insulin? What is your thyroid levels? What does your estrogen and progesterone? And all of that is done through testing. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, close the door. I don't want to do testing. I don't have doctors that I can go see. This sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money. I give you not only the information to the test, but also the direct links to order the test yourself if you do not have a healthcare practitioner. So that's the first step, is figuring out what is going on inside of you. Because for me, in my case, all of the stuff that was happening with my hormones was not showing up on traditional lab work. I can't emphasize that enough. It was not something that was obvious. Everything was in completely normal levels. And it wasn't until I did these more in-depth testing that stuff popped up and it was blaring like, Mayday, Mayday, we've got a serious situation here. And that was what I based my intervention, where I started my journey for month 1, was based off of those results. Now, that process is based on what your lifestyle looks like. For me, it's easy to draw the conclusion, oh, she's 100 pounds overweight. Her diet, her nutrition must be She must not be exercising. For me, that was not my truth. My diet was not highly processed. I didn't eat a ton of refined sugars. I wasn't eating a lot of vegetable oils. I wasn't drinking a lot of alcohol. I was exercising 6 days a week. My nutrition for 8 months prior to starting this protocol was highly restrictive. I had eliminated most carbohydrates. I had eliminated fruit, bright rice, potatoes, bread, like anything that was not a fibrous carbohydrate or had like below like maybe 3 to 5 grams of carbohydrate per serving, I was not eating. I was trying to keep my total carbohydrates under 30 grams per day because I thought that the carbohydrates I was being really reactive to. I had completely eliminated dairy. I was so restrictive. And as a result of that stress on my body, being in a calorie deficit, removing entire food groups, depriving my body of the nutrients that it needed in order to function properly, the whole thing just snowballed. And instead of losing weight through that process, through doing all of the things that we're told we should do, right, to be healthy, exercising 6 days a week and watching your calories, making sure you were in a calorie deficit for weight loss, all of those things caused me to gain weight. Between 15 and 20 pounds, depending on where you look at the timeline, was what I gained in doing that. And not only did I gain the weight was just a byproduct of what was happening. And so when I addressed that and I figured out what was actually happening on a cellular level inside of my body, and I was able to stop and pause and take a different approach that was scary, guys. This was a scary thing to go from being everything I've known as a certified personal trainer for 15 years, knowing that you need to be in a calorie deficit, knowing that it's about energy expenditure, throwing all of that out the window and trusting the process of reintroducing all of the foods that I had eliminated, bringing my body out of a calorie deficit into a calorie surplus so that I could reduce the stress on my system and give my body the ability to feel safe enough to use the energy that it did have to repair the way that my body was functioning. Once I did that, change started to happen. And as a byproduct of that process, I ended up losing 37 pounds in 12 weeks. The weight loss was not the goal. Healing was the goal. And for me, weight loss was a byproduct of that process. The weight primarily that I have lost over the last 12 weeks has been inflammation, because one of my symptoms was chronic inflammation. And you don't have control over how much weight, water weight, and inflammation your body releases when you are suffering from that symptom. In addition to chronic inflammation, I had irregular periods. Before starting, my period was like 64-day cycles. I had brain fog. I had horrible migraines. I had acne around my cycle. I had the weight gain. I had the inflammation infecting my joints. The symptoms were like, the list was a mile long, and it was just compounding and getting worse. 3 months into this, I have none of it. My cycles are now between 28 and 30 days. I've had 3 cycles in the last 12 weeks. They are totally normal. Instead of lasting 10 days, they've lasted 4 days. And I've only had 1 day of heavy bleeding, where I used to have like 8 days of heavy bleeding and then like this mess afterwards. Everything is regulating. Everything is regulating because of the process that I have followed for the last 3 months. And that process, again, is completely customizable to you, your body, and your goals. So if you have not checked out this series, I give you access for 3 days free to dive in and see how customizable this nutrition strategy is for you. It hinges entirely on your nutrition, but it is not a diet. You are not counting calories, you're not counting macros, you're not restricting carbohydrates. The entire nutrition approach is based on eating whole foods that give your body the nutrients it needs in order to function properly, which means my meals, it's not a meal if it doesn't incorporate all 3 macros: protein, fat, and carb. Every single meal that I've had over the last 3 months has included those 3 things: potatoes, rice, bread. I even still have, family pizza nights. I have occasionally wine or a beer with my husband. I've had birthday cake numerous times. I go out to dinner. We've had fast food. Nothing is 100% eliminated in this process. It's about living a real life, but what are you doing most consistently? And I think the most important thing to recognize is that your lifestyle starting this process is probably going to be different from what my lifestyle was starting this process. So the things that I had to eliminate we're not, it wasn't about elimination for me. The biggest thing that I had to eliminate was my dependency on caffeine in order to function, because I was suffering from adrenal fatigue. And even that, I haven't been 100%. I'm still drinking Diet Coke, guys. I'm just not surviving on it. I promise you, nothing about this process has felt like my life was over. The amount of change that has happened in 12 weeks has empowered me to want to continue this, to want to continue to provide the tools and the resources to you to be able to make these changes for yourself. It is so frustrating for me. The whole catalyst, the whole reason for creating this series was that I didn't have access or know about this information. And I think that everybody should know, if you are a woman, you should know what is happening inside of you. You should know more than, oh, hormones affect our bodies. And yeah, when your hormones are astray, let's just get put on thyroid medicine. Let's just get put on something for diabetes. How about we try to understand the root cause of those problems and how we might be able to fix them for ourselves? So if you are interested in learning more about that process, click the link in my bio. I'll try to put a link in any sort of stories. I send out emails. Check out the series. You won't regret it. It's 12 weeks of your time. And again, maybe a byproduct of the process for you might be losing weight. But even if you don't lose a single pound, it's about how you feel. And there is not a number that you can put on the way that you feel when you start applying this information. I'm 12 weeks in, and I feel like a different person. It's hard to put into words, because when you feel bad for long enough, you forget what feeling good is supposed to feel like. And I want that for you. So check out the series. It's not going anywhere. My health is not going to transform overnight. I am not chasing numbers on a scale. I am not chasing to fit back into a certain size of clothing. I'm chasing a feeling. And that feels really, really good to be in that type of headspace. Everybody deserves that for yourself. And don't wait until, you start to see my body continue to transform to a point that you are finally inspired by this process to start applying it yourself. You could be going through it with me right now in real time. So check it out month 1, jump in month 4, wherever you are in your process and your journey. I encourage you to join me, and I'll see you inside.